Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, guys? Here we are, part 2 of the ELLIOTT episode. Right now, I have Chris from the band ELLIOTT. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, Shane. Thanks for having me.
Well, I mean, my life wouldn't be complete without having the opportunity to talk to you, and I just had the opportunity to talk to Kevin, and this has just been a long time coming for me to be able to tell the artists themselves how important you were in my life, and your music got me through a lot. And, you know, it was sad, but I was also lucky to be at one of your very last shows at Maxwell's in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Oh yeah.
And that was a sad day for me because I knew it was coming to an end. But what you gave me in that short period of time, I just want to say thank you.
Well, that means a lot. And it does, you know, when we were doing the band, and for so much of it, there was just, you know, it's just like you're trying to get to that next show, you're trying to get to the next record, you try, you know, but, you know, it didn't get lost on us once we decided, though, that last part of that tour, you know, where we went back out, we knew that this was it. It wasn't like, it wasn't really, there wasn't bad blood. It wasn't like, this is the worst thing ever. It was just like, okay, we've come to a point where we need to like figure out new things. And so it was great playing some of those last shows and, you know, really like absorbing it and taking that in. But it's amazing to hear that we've affected people in certain ways and we are part of their lives. And yeah, no, we appreciate, you know, what you do and everything we've been able to be a part of.
Well, I mean, I told Kevin there's a moment in your little documentary, the second disc of photo recording, that after the last show, there's a hug between you and Kevin in the kitchen, and you can see how much it meant to you, and you can see like there was almost a little bit of like weight lifted off your shoulders, like you guys embraced because you knew that was it.
Right.
And, you know, you're all still friends. And then when you let go of each other, you could actually see like a little bit of weight lifted off your shoulders as well.
It was because we our whole lives were interconnected, and, you know, and even through all of that, you know, no one, it's like, I never took a vacation, because if I did, then one of the other guys would have to. And then all of a sudden we've all been off for, you know, 2 months or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? So for years and years that we were in that band, like it was just nonstop go. And I think Kevin and I both knew that, like, okay, now we can experience, you know, new things. And then, you know, and it's amazing that, you know, that we're able to have the opportunity to maybe do this again and just, you know, at least kind of celebrate some of these songs and what ELLIOTT was to us and what ELLIOTT was to other people.
Well, you guys deserve that celebration, and I hope the fact that if you can see what's happening and the noise that was made as soon as it was announced you were going to do a reunion show at Furnace Fest, where I had just told Kevin that I was at Furnace Fest this past year, and, you know, we've had a bunch of people on the show that were there, and all the people that were there playing, I said, there's one band missing. And
Man,
I was like, it's Elliott. And I even said, looking at my wife, I'm like, if Elliott was here and played this Furnace Fest right now, if the plane went down on the way home, I'd be like, it's all good. It's all good.
Chad has been trying, and he's been, relentless every year asking us. It's so kind of him to do that. And then just after all this craziness, the last 2 years of, everybody's kind of taking stock, of their lives and what was important, what's important. And, he asked, and then he asked again, and I was like, well, he might not ask next year. So let's see what happens. He might just give up on us, so, but yeah, so it was great that, we've kind of been, given this opportunity to do this again. So
yeah. Well, listen, the only way I look at it is I just got to pay a shit ton of money now to get back to Alabama to go see Elliott. So thank you for that.
Hopefully, we'll see how it all goes. We'd love to reach out to people, where they're at, but it's, you have no idea. You don't know if the interest is there are people, excited, or they want to see this,
Listen, people are excited. Trust me.
Well,
listen, I'm right outside in New York City, so you guys need a warm-up show. Let's do it.
That's right. That's right. No, we've always loved, Maxwell's was always like an amazing place. I had like a huge history there, right?
Huge history. It's sad that it's no longer there.
Right.
It was, but the good part about it is the booker, which is the most important part, is booking in Jersey City at White Eagle Hall. So, there's still a place for you to come play in New Jersey. So, it's sad. It was bought over. Booker leaves. They try to change some things. And my buddy played one of the last shows there. And I was just like, yeah, it's not the same. Like it's
right. It's so hard. We're so many places. We're losing so many places here in Louisville. It's the same thing. Venues are doing fairly well. As far as, there's still a few that pop up, and then some underground ones that pop up. We lost our main record store, but then that spawned like 5 other record stores. That's kind of cool. And then, but we're losing our guitar shop. We had Guitar Emporium forever, and it just came out that Wednesday is going to be their last day.
Oh man!
And that's where I've been getting guitars since I started playing guitar. So it's like, and hopefully they'll find a new place or new location. But all the that prime real estate it keeps going up and up, and people gotta understand they gotta make their money. They gotta take care of their grandkids, or it's been one of those situations. But
yeah, it's weird when you just watch that stuff, because it's that nostalgia, and it's so important to you, and when it goes away, it's just like it does. It's like tears a little piece of your heart, and you're just
and it's like, what's going to go there? It's going to be another phone store, or another bubble tea place, whatever.
Yeah, but listen, all we can think about is the memories that we did have there, because those are that's what's important.
Oh, no, exactly. I had some great memories of. There was one in particular, just thinking we were going to play the Snapcase in Buffalo, and I walked in the Guitar Emporium to buy strings, and there's a guitar case. And I was just like, is what's in that guitar case what's supposed to be in that guitar case? He was like, yep. I was like, how much? He was like, $400. I was like, great, I'll take it. I'm not even gonna look at it. I don't want to look at it until I get to Buffalo. So I bought it, threw it in the van. So it was a 67 SG. And it's beat to hell. It's a player. It's not collectible, but that'll be my memory from that guitar shop,
Good memory. go to another memory. Do you remember your first musical memory? You know, I would say there's two poignant moments in everyone's life. It's the first time you hear music, and then the first time you find your own music.
Right. Yeah. So mine is kind. When you get the stories that your parents tell you, and then you don't know if that's your actual memory or if it's because they told you so much. Mine is one of those stories where, they told me this time that they, I was probably like 5 or 6 or maybe even a little younger, probably a little younger, but this would have been in the late 70s, early 80s. And they had me down in Florida, and they had me on this bar, and I'm dancing to John Denver. What's the country boy? I'm horrible with names. You're going to find out with. Thank God I'm a country boy. That's the song. And so they had me up there dancing, and I guess people were like, throwing them beer money. And so, so I took care of their tab for that. And so that's one of those songs that even I don't obviously, remember that, but I remember that song being played, on Saturday mornings when it's, time to like clean the house or whatever. That was one of those songs on the radio or the 8-track, that was put on, and I was, has a strong memory to me. But I also like very early age. Did you all have Woolworths stores?
Yeah, we had Woolworth.
Yeah, so we had those, and so when I was pretty young, I would go and I would buy the 45s, and they were like $1 or something. So it was like it was something that you could always go and get, and parents weren't too upset. But I remember buying stuff like the Jay Giles band or Joan Jett, Queen, AC/DC, that kind of stuff at an early age. Has it been in the early 80s, that stuff.
Did that make you, once you started to hear that and you were like picking your own music out, did that just like start a thirst as you started to get older? Because then that here's going to come that part where you're a teen, and right. For me, I think you and I are close to the same age. You were force fed everything on the radio, or you were force fed things on MTV, and that's where you got your music.
Exactly. Until
you met that cool guy at a record store who said, "Hey, you should listen to this."
Right. Yeah, and that cool guy. It was I was an only child, so I didn't have older brothers or anything. But I started getting in. So 84 would have been like you start getting into the hair metal bands, and then kind of as I got older up until like 8th grade, then I met a guy down the street named Matt Lozer that was we both skateboarded and whatnot, and his brother had the Minor Threat records, and he had the tapes. It have like one side was, I think if I remember correct, one side was Black Flag and the other side was a local band, Endpoint. And so I didn't know which was which. He didn't have a label. So I was like, I think I was listening to it. I think I was listening to Black Flag. I was like, man, I hope this is the local band, because we were going to go see them, coming up like that weekend or something, that Friday. And, I think it would end up flip-flop, but it didn't matter. As soon as I saw them live and I saw what live music was and like kids doing it and people that looked like us doing it, I mean, it was just game over.
You found your group like that. And that's what, I say all the time. It's that when you go listen to live music, unless it's where I always say that the only place that everyone's not there for the music are like large arena shows. When you go to a small venue and it holds, whether VFW hall, everyone there is for that band. and you found your people without even knowing it.
Without knowing it, and it was I don't even know that I get conflicting stories on exactly where it was and the way I remember where it was compared to where it actually was. Like it's all skewed, but I came from the south end of Louisville, and so anything outside of my neighborhood was the moon. So if you went to the east end or the west, it was all just like I have no idea where I'm at. So but I know it was a school gymnasium, and it was the two biggest Louisville bands. It was Endpoint and King Horse. So you couldn't have gone to a better first show. And yeah, it was just immediate, just like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. Forever.
Kevin said that his first show was King Horse. So
was it? Okay. Yeah. And probably maybe a little bit, it might have been around. Well, this is what's funny. So Matt Lozer, the guy that hooked me up with the first stuff, is Kevin's stepbrother.
Okay.
But not at the time. So at the time Matt lived down the street from me. And his mom hadn't met Kevin's dad at that point. But then years later, I would come go over to Matt's new house, and then, not knowing anything about the family or, what was going on. And then I was like, what's that noise? And peek into the garage, and it's just this little redhead kid with like these huge PA speakers around him, just blaring like Motley Crue, and he was just going off. And I was like, man, that kid's crazy, and luckily, that was Kevin. But we never we didn't hang out. I just kind of hung out, with the stepbrother, and then I was ultimately, but then years later, we reconnected that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome.
It all ties together now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny that King Horse was his too. And King Horse at the time was not like I was there was like Endpoint guys, King Horse guys, and then some people that, obviously love both. But I kind of went towards the more hardcore Endpoint guys, and later found my appreciation for King Horse and love those guys and love Sean but yeah, it was there was definitely kind of like two scenes, and they didn't battle each other, but it was it was definitely like there was some ego and going on between the two, and good friendly competition, I guess.
Was that your very first show ever? Your first concert ever? Was it Endpoint King Horse, or did you have a show that your parents dragged you to somewhere?
Yeah, nothing super cool, but and not even like.
Listen, mine wasn't super cool, and I tell it all the time. It was Kenny Rogers, so don't worry about it. That was my very first concert ever.
Kenny Rogers, that's no one to hold him. Mine was I got to see like the classic stuff, like Beach Boys, but like fairground Beach Boys, not not Pet Sounds Beach Boys.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Beach Boys are the reason why I love music.
Oh man,
that's my first musical memory is the Beach Boys in the back of a '78 brown Oldsmobile coming up the Garden State Parkway, and I hear Little Surfer on the radio as like a 5-6-year-old kid, and I just that was it for me. I was like, I love music.
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh man, and I loved the Beach Boys. Chuck Berry. I was able to see. I've seen James Brown a couple times, but that kind of stuff. More of the waterfront concerts or fairground concerts, things like that. never made it to like the big kind of, never got to see like AC/DC in the 80s or, Kiss or anything like that. It was all whatever my parents were kind of into.
Well, they were paying and they were driving, so it's kind of
that's right.
Whatever
that's right.
you say.
Yeah, but they listened to some good stuff. My dad was a English teacher, so he was teaching high school seniors immediately out of college. So he's 4 years older than the kids that he's teaching. And so I remember, he would as a teacher would do these. They would make movies. They would do whatever, but they would use Pink Floyd as the soundtrack, or they would use Queen. That was like always, you go to the football games, and Queen was the big "We Will Rock You," over the PA speakers. So it was definitely like music was always there. It was always a huge part. It's when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm not really into music." I'm like, I don't understand.
Listen, I've met people that said that, and I just look at them and I'm like, "You're a serial killer. You know that, right?" Like
how do you, what do you do? What do you when you're doing things? What do you like? Do you just hum, or you talk to yourself? What do you do? I don't get it.
Yeah, like I don't understand it at all. I need music on at all times. Like
Yeah.
I need it. Well, so when did you start to play guitar? Was that your first instrument, or did you, like 90 million of us, have to have piano lessons forced on by your mother?
Oh man, no, I am the mother that's forcing piano lessons. My wife and I. So both of our boys are taking piano for years now, and but no, my parents were always very supportive, but just shy of successful at getting me into things.
Mm-hmm.
So like they would, they got me a guitar, but they didn't teach me how to tune it, or it needs to be tuned. So I've got the guitar and I'm watching MTV and I'm like, and I guess I'm just, not intelligent enough just to pick up like, oh, these things have to be in certain, arrangements. And so I'm doing my fingers. I'm like, this sounds horrible. Like nothing's working. So I kind of just didn't do anything musically until I got a phone call, and the guys down the street, and they were just like, hey, we want you to sing for our band. And I was like, I don't, they had seen me at shows taking pictures of the bands and doing that, and obviously like losing my mind in the crowd and singing and whatever. And they're like, yeah, we want you to be our singer. Like, well, I'll try. So that's where it kind of started. And then
What was the name of that band?
that was Falling Forward.
Oh,
and so
that was your very first band?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And we got so much help from the Endpoint guys. I mean, when it first started, the guitarist in that band didn't even know how to do power chords. So they were just doing single note, and it would have sounded a lot more punk rock, but it was just all single note, so, and then Duncan Barlow from Endpoint, came in for a practice, and eventually we, our first 7-inch we recorded, he showed the guys like, here, you got to do a power chord like this. Like here, 2 fingers, 2 strings, and so that's where that all started. And so we did that, and then probably towards the end of Falling Forward is when I was like, okay, I need to get a guitar, and I got to figure out how to do this so that I can not be always, reliant on somebody else writing the songs. So, when these guys keep quitting, that I know how to do something, you know. And so, yeah, towards the end of Falling Forward is when I got my first guitar and started, really trying to figure it out.
Now, how long did it take you to figure it out to want to go on and start ELLIOTT?
Well, pretty much right after Falling Forward kind of disbanded, then the nucleus of that, it was myself and then Jonathan, the bass player, and Ben Lord. We were looking to start something new. And then that's when we found Jay. He was on tour with his band, and they were playing some shows here in Louisville. And then they broke up, and I was like, hey, you play guitar, you should join this band. So that's kind of how it all happened.
So you kind of had to have a crash course at learning how to play guitar real fast then.
Oh yeah. And still not very good. It's definitely, like I always say, surround myself with people that are, better than you are. And, they'll either, elevate what you're doing, or you can just hide behind them. So, but it's definitely, there's a couple tricks, and I definitely just, stayed in my little niche of octaves and drop D and, learn some power chords, and I was able to fake it, pretty well, at least get the idea. And then, Jay and Jonathan and then ultimately Kevin would start writing parts too, and then it all started flowing.
So was your first live performance with Falling Forward? Was that your first time you performed musically live in front of someone?
Yeah, besides school stuff, but and really that was just here and there, like first grade. But yeah, that Falling Forward would have been the first stuff that I ever did. I mean, when we started, it was just like someone's backyard, and some of the other Louisville bands, slowly just accept you and say, "Oh, play this show," here, you guys need these amps. This is the stuff that you should be playing, and I can't say more about the Endpoint guys helping us out, and Andy Tinsley, which was Endpoint's kind of road guy, manager, roadie, kind of like Bo from Avell, but for Endpoint. He started a label and put out the first Falling Forward 7-inch. So that was a huge, boost for us. And you just, you start playing out, you get better. And we had huge influences from Endpoint and Split Lip they were up in Indianapolis. And you just kind of keep going show to show and try to get better and practice. And that's kind of what we did.
I still have that 7-inch, and it's one of those 7-inches that I think is funny too, because I go through a lot of people's records and stuff when I'm at their place, and I'm like, it's one of those things that it seems like more than half the people I hang out with, all of a sudden I'm like, you have this too? I just always thought it was so rare.
And it's funny because it was, it really was. I mean, especially because I think that was the only thing that Andy put out on that. If we're talking about the Falling Forward stuff, yeah, and so I don't really know how it was all distributed, or how people got their hands on it.
Yeah, how did some kid like me in a record store in New Jersey just be like, "Hey, this looks cool. I'm going to buy this."
No, yeah, it's amazing because we only did one leg of a tour up on the East Coast with Endpoint, and then they took Split Lip, I believe, and Metro Shifter, or not Metro, Sunspring, on the West Coast part of that tour. So that was the only time that we really ever toured was that small little, jaunt up the East Coast and back.
Now, after that, and ELLIOTT starts to become what it became for U.S. Songs, what was it like, and did you feel something different about what you came from to what this was?
A little bit. There was, the thing with ELLIOTT, we didn't want to have, we wanted to push our music as far as we could, and really farther than that I felt like it was just like, if we got to a point where there'd be a song and be like, man, I can't believe I was a part of writing a song like that. And not because like, oh, I think it's amazing. It's just that, my abilities compared to what some of the output that we were making, I was like, wow, that's pretty good. For me, other people know it, but we still loved where we came from. We loved the punk scene, loved the hardcore scene, we never wanted to like give any of that up, I think if anything, we probably consider ourselves like, or we wished we were falling in that world of the post-hardcore, the bands that I was listening to were completely different than the bands that Kevin was listening to, and even that Jay were listening to. But, I was coming more from the post-hardcore, your Quicksand, Jawbox, Jawbreaker, early DC, Fugazi, that stuff.
Yeah.
And, Kevin was coming from much more of like a, maybe 90s, I don't want to say just 90s rock. I mean, he was in like hardcore bands too and whatnot, but he definitely had, he loved Smashing Pumpkins and, some of the, Jay loved The Cure, all these, I'm going really superficial kind of bands here.
It's totally fine.
But we all had something, and it was kind of like a filter that it all kind of went through. So even if I was, trying to play these, octaves and, a more DC kind of sound, well, it got filtered through Jay doing some kind of effects, and then it got filtered through Kevin's, drumming style. And it came out, it would never come out the way I wanted to, but then that was, what was good about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what made you guys great. And it was technical, it was different, and everyone came from a different place, but when it came together, it was magic. Like the songs are magic. Right.
Yeah. And hopefully they were a little bit different, and sometimes it separated us, to a degree. We never had like the brother, band that we would always, go out on tour with, or we kind of went out with anybody and everybody that we could, and sometimes I don't know if that was a detriment to a degree.
I don't think it was. And I mean, I'll say the same thing to you as I said to Kevin earlier, is what ELLIOTT did for me was you guys were completely separated from the scene that you were a part of with the music you were creating, because there was no one else. You could always put bands like, oh, if you like this, you'll like this. They sound, a little bit like this, so you'll probably like them. When it came for me to ELLIOTT, I'd be like, well, who do they sound like? I go, nobody. You just got to listen to it, because I can't say, okay, yeah, I've seen them play with these other bands, so this is who they sound like, because
right.
You guys didn't. and
Yes.
that's what was great about it. And where what I love about it is, and I also hate it, is you paved the way for bands to do their own thing that went on to just fucking everybody know who they are. And that kind of was upsetting to me when I'm like, yeah, no, there was this band ELLIOTT that did this before that, like, they're like, come on, like, you haven't heard of them?
Right. But there was definitely a point towards the end where it was like, I don't want to say the writing was on the wall, but it was definitely like, oh, well, this is a whole new thing coming in. It was like bands had their like, it was like a starter kit, like a brand new band. These kids are maybe 15 years old, and they would, they got the 15 passenger van, and they've got the trailer, and they have all the right amps, and they just like, and not even bands that sound like this. It was just like it just seemed like there was this new, I guess part of it was emo, but part of it was like more pop punk world that I was noticing. I was like, oh, like I guess more like the drive through type bands and that were coming up and and they were just hitting because they were talking to the crowd that was there, and they had it pinpointed, it's like, oh, this is what we do, this is what people want, and we got it. And so, with us, it's like we were just old dogs at that point. We're just like, okay, you go and you have that.
Yeah. And it's you said that those two words, pop punk, and then you said the word that I'm not afraid of, which is emo. It's actually
Sure.
it's there's nothing wrong with it, guys. But what I see nowadays, like say SiriusXM has a emo channel,
Right.
that's not really what emo is. What they're playing on there, I'm like, you're playing pop punk. Like emo had its place, and it was ELLIOTT, Mineral, Promise Ring. Like there's that, and that's not played on the emo channel. And I'm like, you guys can't call yourself that, because that's not really what it was. There was a scene of all these bands that created this other scene that now as emo. And I've gotten into arguments with friends about it, and my buddy's like, yeah, no, but emo for people's is My Chemical Romance. That's not your
Right.
emo, but that's their emo. And I'm like, I guess
Yeah.
you're right. They're like, you're 10, 15 years older than them. So you got it when it started, and they got it when everybody got it.
Right. And there was we got the chance, we played some shows with Piebald, and then My Chemical Romance opened up all those shows. And, so I got to see them as, like a brand new band. And I remember backstage, and I was hearing the singer, he was talking, and he was talking all this, kind of industry type talk. And I was like, these poor guys. Oh, they're gonna just chew them up and spit them out. I was like, I really hope they do okay, and then, it was like we broke up, and then, 2 months later they're on MTV. I'm like, oh my
cover
God.
Rolling Stone, MTV. like, you're like, what the fuck?
The biggest band ever. Yeah, no, it was great. And I love it. I love that, people were able to, because, and there's songs of theirs, I think they're amazing. And, they were able to take, their element and then kind of take it to the next level.
Yeah.
To almost like a Queen type situation.
Yeah, to play arenas and see them, like still control it, and that's a hard part when you get it, is to control the monster that was just created. Yeah.
Sure. They seem to be okay.
Yeah, I think they're doing okay.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up another band like Piebald. I think this past year at Furnace Fest, watching, because I had seen Piebald a bunch of times, and to me, Piebald is like a live show. Like their records can't do what they do live, like any justice whatsoever.
Yeah, they're so just infectious with the way that they do a live show, with the singer, and how he, kind of, they work off each other. Yeah, they were a fun band to watch.
Yeah, and at first, I mean, it was packed when they came on stage, and it was one of those moments in my life too where I'm just like, I've seen them a bunch of times, like I've seen you a bunch of times, which I know for you guys at Furnace Fest will be the same exact thing. But I just looked around because I was on like backstage, and I'm just looking, and I'm like, I can't believe there's this many people going fucking crazy for Piebald. This is amazing to see this, because I'd only seen them in smaller rooms and smaller venues. Right. And there were so many people that were so into it. And I was like, I wish every band on that scene that you guys came up and were playing to that huge crowd all at once, all the time, because that's really what you were. And it was just a shame to see the pioneers for me. And, I have a list of the pioneers of that scene that, never got their just due. And I just want to give you guys your just due, that you deserve so much more than probably what you ever saw in front of you. So,
man, I appreciate that. It's a scary thought too. So, I mean, we got a few months to get this together. Really going to make it happen. But yeah, and it's, it'll be amazing to kind of share that energy. It'll be so cool. If that's what people are into, and there's people there, I'll be happy to be a part of that.
You have to see how much has already been going on with just you guys announcing that you're going. I mean, you have to have noticed that, like, the outpouring of people and saying things on your Instagram and stuff like that of what you truly meant to someone.
Oh, yeah. And it's amazing, through the years and some of the things you would see and or a tattoo that somebody had, you're just like, what? How does that happen? Yeah. And it's interesting, but I can look at it as a fan. Like when Avail said they're doing some shows and they're, coming back out, like that was something that was like super exciting to me. I know they just played recently, like this weekend or something.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago when Jawbreaker said it for me, and that was
right.
Like I rushed out. I made sure that was
that
at the
there.
Yeah, I was like, "There's no way I'm missing this." And now I'm flying out to Denver and to see, because the lineup is Sam I Am, Face to Face, Descendants, and Jawbreaker. Yeah, right. I'm going to that lineup.
Yeah. No, that's amazing, and I think and then Jawbox did some shows with them on this one as well.
Yeah, and Jawbox is doing a residency for 3 days in New York City. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to make it up. I remember I went and saw Jawbox and Jawbreaker at the Metro in Chicago when Dear You came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to just see Jawbox. I really, like, I'd had was the 24-hour
revenge therapy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think every kid had to have that at that time.
And it was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
But, I was like, I'd been a Jawbox fan forever. And then I got there and I was like, why is Jawbox opening for Jawbreaker? Like, I didn't get it, because they're from the West Coast. I just wasn't fully clued in. And then they played and I was like, I wasn't one of those guys that was like, oh, Dear You, I don't like, I was like, this record is amazing.
Yeah.
And they, and I love Jawbox, but at that point, they blew Jawbox away. And I didn't understand how one guitar player, could sound like that. Definitely took some of that, to the, once Elliott was playing, I was like, oh, because I noticed he had 2 guitar amps on each side of stage. He had a slight delay on one, or at least I thought he did. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. I got to do that.
Yeah, I remember finding out about Jawbox only because they opened for Quicksand in the city, and I want to say it was 93, maybe 92.
Yeah,
and
sounds right.
Yeah, and I go to the Quicksand show, and I'm like all excited, and this band comes out, and I'm like, I don't know who Jawbox is whatsoever.
Right.
And they play, and they're done, and I'm like, what the fuck? What was that? Like,
Right.
how did I not know about this? And then it was literally, I just went to the record store the next day and bought. And I'm a huge Quicksand fan, huge fan of Walter, everything Walter does, and I'm just like, I don't even want to see Quicksand now because I just saw him like 2 months ago. But I'm like, I just need to, and I dove right in, and I was like, fuck, how did I not know about this band? And that's why I always tell people, always show up for the openers, not who you paid for.
Exactly. Yeah. And they were, luckily so they had a cassette that was put out by Scott Richer, who was in a band called Sunspring and then was in a band called Metro Shifter.
Mm-hmm.
And he put out a Jawbox cassette here in Louisville off his label. But was it the Grip or it was Gripe? I don't know which one. But but he, like, I think it was, I don't know if it was like a thing with Discord or if they just let him put out the cassette version or whatever it was. But so we got Jawbox pretty early here, and so that was they were probably one of my like first 10 shows or something. Got to see them play.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and between that and then Fugazi, coming here, and there was always big influences. But yeah, Novelty is still probably one of my favorite records from Jawbox.
Now, speaking about live shows, do you remember the first ELLIOTT show ever?
I think it was a chair. It was in the basement of Ground Zero, I think, which is a small record store here. And it was like a Toys for Tots kind of charity thing with that the Kindles did every year. I think that was our first show because I just remember it being really like I could barely sing and play guitar at the same time. And and it was very, there was a lot of.
So it was a great show, is what you're telling
me. That's right. It was a great show. There was a lot of. There's at least a couple instrumentals that weren't probably supposed to be instrumentals, just because I could not figure out how to sing, and that was a big step of trying to to figure out how to play and sing at the same time and how to figure that out. That's when I think a lot of drop D started coming into the mix. It's like, I could do that.
Now, if someone never heard of the band ELLIOTT, which I hate the fact that I have to say that, what song of yours would you play for them?
Oh, that's hard. Because it would,
you would judge them by looking at them and think what they would want to hear.
Yeah. Do you want to hear the soft stuff, or do you want to hear like a little heavier stuff?
But in your mind, like that's something that you're proud of, and you think it best represented the music that you created.
Right. I always, I liked from different records, but I like Blessed by Your Own Ghost from False Cathedrals. And then there are some songs from Song in the Air that I like a lot too. It's just such a different vibe. Each record is so.
They're all three of them are completely 100% different albums. Yeah. Different. It's a different sound, and that's why you can't go into one expecting something.
Right. And so yeah. So the but definitely the first out U.S. songs. I mean, there's Miracle on there. It was just kind of like always a fun song to play at least. But yeah, I don't, for some reason, Blessed is always kind of special to me. I don't know why.
All right. It's a good pick.
Is there something, what would you tell people? Do you have a,
and again, because I would judge, it would be, do you want something fast or slow? I mean, Drive On to me is one of those things where it's like, here you go. This gives you a story. And then the next song you hear is going to be a completely different story, but just as good, if not better. So I think I think that's what I put my wife onto when I had to introduce her to your music. I was like, you know what? I think I'll start you with this because I kind of know you. And then, of course, it's her favorite song by you guys now. But then it just like things start to move all over the place, and she loves Blessed, just as much. But I think Drive On to me, just because it to me, I think it just has raw passion in it about what you're creating.
And it was that whole record, giving Kevin a voice in writing beyond his drum parts, I think was a huge thing for the band, a huge lift that really took us, somewhere. And of course, what Jay was bringing to the band, and but that was definitely one of those things where I was like, oh, hey, I was a part of this. That's cool. Like, it was almost like a pop song, but it was, it kind of had all the elements, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised I was a part of that.
Yeah, and I mean, my favorite song is either probably Carry On or Believe, which is weird since False Cathedrals is like in my top 5 greatest albums ever created, and my favorite song by you guys isn't on there.
That was definitely, those are all kind of mixed together as far as you have the muse that kind of fueled at the beginning of False Cathedrals and towards the end of False Cathedrals, and then Song in the Air is just kind of me like spiraling. Yeah. And some of that stuff is sad, and some of it's uplifting. Just trying to find your way again. But yeah, it was it was a process. All those records were a process. That all were kind of completely different.
And what's your process going to be like, trying to to play these again? I mean, I'm sure you've already started to tinker a little bit. Are you getting any feelings about what it was about when you wrote that? Because sometimes when you write a song, it's about something bad that you may not want to remember again, because it's cathartic of writing a song. Are you going to shy away from if you wrote a song that was like that, or are you going to embrace it?
And definitely embrace it. But what I've found is, so after Falling Forward, and some of my songwriting was intentionally cryptic so that I could kind of reinvent what it's about.
Okay.
As I got older or things changed. And then some of the stuff was, that I'm just, even towards the end of it, and sometimes now, I'm like, oh, that's what I was getting at with what what I was saying or feeling. Some of it was intentional at the time to kind of not have to regurgitate the same emotions every single time, because especially with the early hardcore stuff and Falling Forward, some of that stuff was very, very specific, and you had to bring up that same subject or tragic, line all the time, and it wears on you. And so with Elliott, I kind of changed that up a little bit, but I still, sometimes the chorus might be something totally different than some of the verses or, the bridge. And that way I could kind of come into different spots, with the song, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And that's why I ask, because, there's so much goes into songwriting, and a lot of it's taken from experiences, and some of those experiences you totally want to forget. And if you have to go back to them, there's, and it's just the way it is in life. And when creating music, you're writing from experience, I want to say 80% of the time, instead of just jotting down some stuff. But sometimes you wrote it, you got it out there, and you're like, okay, that's gone now. I'm leaving that.
Exactly. And I think what we are finding, obviously, and what is scary about it is, so that record has never been played the way it was written out live.
Yeah, well, you couldn't.
Well, we lost 2 members.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going to be interesting. We're going to play the record the way it was written, with Jay being with us, and so he's going to be playing his parts, and I'm going to be playing the parts that I played with his parts. And I'm realizing that, like, oh, we just didn't change, Benny, when Benny joined the band, we just didn't, he just didn't put new parts. Like, I actually played completely different stuff to a degree. So it's fun to kind of go back in and go, oh, what did we do here? Oh yeah. Okay. I gotta, and then there's some songs that were never played live, from that record, which will be interesting,
Yeah. No, I mean, it was essentially like, and I mean, Kevin had said, you guys weren't on together. So he's like, we just never really caught our stride. Like, everything we were doing was really good, but it just never was okay. Now we got to record this, or we got to perform it a different way. So it was never constantly just being something as perfect as it was meant to be and as it sounded when it was recorded. So, I don't know if you felt the same way, that it was just, it was always trying to change something because something happened.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. It was we did it with the best intentions. We did it because we wanted to be able to grow stronger with these new members, and
yeah, which is commendable, instead of telling someone, hey, no, you got to play it like this.
Yeah. And then, because ultimately it would have, it still did fall apart, but it would have fallen apart probably immediately. But we were able to keep them on at least for another record. And, and it's funny looking back, and time then was, so fleeting, like it now it's like you say a month, and a month means, a day to me, basically from back then. It seemed like forever, but it really wasn't that long of a time stretch, that we were doing all this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, it was short-lived, but it seemed like it wasn't for some reason for me, especially like if you look at, first album came out, 98. So, to 2003. So exactly. That's not a long period of time, but at the same time, when I was listening to the music, like it felt like forever. You know what I mean? It felt like I had this for 30 years already. And then it was gone. And then I was like, oh shit, that was really short.
Yeah. Yeah. And and it's, I think a lot of that, as we get older, time gets shorter, that's the old cliche. But,
well, yeah,
there's truth to it,
There definitely is. My parents are right. All right. That's right. I know you probably listen to this sometimes, but you were right. It's on tape for the world to hear. You were right. I'm sorry.
Exactly. They knew what they were talking about.
Now, I'll give you a little fun question. Now, if you were to make a montage of the years that Elliott was going, what song would you use for that montage? And it doesn't have to be an Elliott song, but would you have a montage song?
Man, I guess I don't know why. I immediately went to like the "Thank You for Being a Friend" song. You know the
yeah. Golden Girls.
Golden Girls. Yeah, yeah. I guess I have to go with that. That was like the immediate.
Listen, and that's because that is the song. I love that.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, you could just see us, just kind of swaying back and forth to that, arm in arm with each other. Now, all the bad times, all the good times, but ultimately,
what's
we're
funny
friends.
is about that song for one of my birthdays, one of my best friends who was at one of your final shows at Maxwell's with me, he writes in a card, he literally wrote out the lyrics to that song, but when you read them, you don't figure out what it is until like 7 lines in. I was like, this is really you son of a bitch.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you got me, you bastard.
That's awesome. No, yeah, it's perfect for those times.
Now, since you guys were, all had different musical taste and stuff, I mean, what was the music like when you were in the van for hours on end? Was there music playing? Was it quiet? Because back then there was no podcast to listen to, and
that's right, no podcast.
All you had was like Rush Limbaugh or fucking Howard Stern. Those were the two people you could talk to on the radio. So
yeah, or if you're up late. So our my MO, which kind of was hurt the band, I ultimately think, but if I had any say with it, once we played the show, 8 times out of 10, we were going to drive that night to the next show.
Yeah, 400 miles away.
And then wherever it was, and then sleep, in the van, in the parking lot of the club, because I wanted to be there, and I didn't want anything I didn't want the van to break down. I wanted to give us all the time in the world.
You're like me. I'm going to be 3 days early to my own funeral. So
exactly. So traveling at night, we did a lot of. I would listen to Art Bell. Do you remember? He was the UFO conspiracy theory guy at night. But if it was music, it was anything from, if I was listening, it was anything from, Quicksand, Jugglebox, Fugazi, Lungfish, our friends' bands, whether it be Shippy News or, Guilt or, but then if it was Kevin or Jay, I mean, it could be anything. And if it was Benny, then, his eclectic taste was all over the place. And that's where you got into the, Velvet Underground, Iggy Pop, just the big rock and roll, 60s stuff. Benny and I both worked at Ear Ecstasy, which was the big record store here. And so he would just dive in to everything. And I had a different approach to where when I saw people buying stuff, if I saw a lot of the same people buying, I wanted it to come to me naturally. So I would just not listen to it. Which is a really weird way to be at a record store. But I would want it to come naturally. So these guys that were the biggest influences to me, and I listened to their music, I wouldn't want to immediately go and listen to the music that they're listening to, if that made sense.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it to find me naturally. which has been beneficial as I've gotten older because I've, like until like maybe 5 years ago, I'd never heard Can. And then I was watching some TV show and that's the best music I've heard ever. Like I've got, what is that? And then I go to the credits and it's like Can. I was like, I get to listen to Can. Like, this is awesome. And so there's a few things that
See, but there's that feeling that you just said. That's the feeling that I get because I spend so much time searching for music. You said you toyed around. If you look at people who've been on the show,
right,
finding that music that makes me go, holy shit, I need to talk to these guys. Like, because I get excited. It's that excitement. And listen, I don't have two small children running around like you do. So, I get to spend that time.
Sure.
But that feeling that music gives me when I find something new, I don't get it with movies. I don't get it with a lot of things in life, but music, when I find something new, that feeling of,
it's so rare.
Oh,
It feels to me it's rare for me because it isn't. I don't get to spend a lot of time, searching. But a lot of podcasts like what you're doing and other people's, they turn me on, to music and But when it comes out of left field, and I feel like I've almost gone full circle to the point of, before I had someone feeding me music, it was you were watching a TV show or, a late night thing, and then either a video would come on or whatever. And that happened to me a few years ago with, I don't know if you're a fan of the band Idols, but I was watching something came on my feed, and it was just like it was the British equivalent of, Conan O'Brien or Jimmy Fallon or something. And it was Idols on there. And it just blew my mind. I was like, oh, I found a band. I could listen to, in 2018 or whenever it was.
And you don't have to weed through the shit.
Yeah. It was just like, who is this? Like, I couldn't believe, that I hadn't somehow heard about something.
Well, before comic book movies, the only reason why I would watch credits to movies sometimes was to find the song.
Right.
I'd sit in my seat and people were like, dude, the movie's over. I'm like, no, there was a song. I know it. I just got to see who performed it.
Right. Yeah. And movies were so, movies or, skate videos. That's how you found, music that wasn't on the radio.
Yeah. That's how I found all my music early on, was skate videos or snowboard videos.
Exactly. And so many kids, and then it went to video games and, that was one thing Initial Record was part of. It was like the Amped snowboarding video game.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a bunch of, they just give it away. But, it was a great thing for kids to be able to like find bands.
That's how I found a band, in the past, was through a video game that I was playing NHL hockey, and this song came on, and I was like, this guy's got a great voice. It was Foxy Shazam. I don't know if you know who they are.
Yeah. I know, Daisy, their bass player, he is in Foxy Shazam. He's from Louisville.
Oh, yeah. I literally just saw them last Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think Daisy's with them anymore. He's in a band called, you should check out, called Lung, and it's just him playing drums, and then there's a female singer who plays cello.
Okay,
but it's it's bombastic. It's not like super laid back. It's cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wrote it down, so I will definitely listen to that. I found him playing an ice hockey game, and like it's all of a sudden I'm like, what is that song? And then I saw them open for The Darkness, and I was like, holy shit, are they a live show? And I was like, and then I went to see him again the other day, and I was like, well, okay, maybe 8 years ago. McNally's voice, held up pretty good. But again, it was like I listened to those records, and sometimes like I'll tell people, I'll be like, here, if you listen to Church of Rock and Roll by Foxy Shazam, I'm like, it's the closest vocals you'll get to like a Queen sound or a band that sounds like Queen. And it was just, that was another one of those moments where it was like exciting that I found something like that.
Oh yeah.
And it was a video game, fucking video game of all places.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before, it was, I would, like I said, I lived in the south part of town, and I never made it to like the cool record stops, but we would, you would just go, I would go to the like National Record Mart or whatever, the NRM, which was like the big chain, and you just look for the weirdest cover, like whatever name of the band that would make your mom mad, it's like, that's what, you would get, it's like, if it didn't have a skull or something on fire or, something that was lewd, like, then you didn't get it,
What was the first thing you listened to that your mom got mad at you for listening to? Mine was the Beastie Boys when I was young.
Yeah, but she never, like, I never got in trouble for anything I listened to, but it was definitely like, oh, I don't, I remember I bought the Hard-Ons, punk band, because like, oh, that's crass and, whatever, but it, but the Beastie Boys, I remember, because that had to have been right around, when did License to Ill come out? Was that like 80?
86.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was definitely like semi-questionable of if, your mom was going to allow you to listen to that. But they were never to the point of saying you can't listen to anything. I think the first record, I think it was 83, and she bought me Quiet Riot.
Mental Health, yeah. And that was for like a Valentine's Day gift. So she was pretty open. That's an odd cover for a third grader to request. Oh man. So we're talking about all these different bands. Is there a band in your life that's never let you down? Like I always say, Rolling Stone categorizes it as favorite band. I don't like to do favorite bands. I say, a band that you listened to their music that had never let you down when you were listening to them.
Oh man.
You're allowed more than one too, but
yeah, well, there's some that just always get me, like Peter Gabriel, the So album.
It's a perfect album.
It's so good.
It's a perfect album.
You hear it, it's just, parts of it can tear you apart, but there's a few of his that do that for me. I was as a kid, if we're going nostalgia, I was a huge Men at Work fan.
Colin Hay's still putting out fucking brilliant music.
He is. No, he's still writing. He's still playing. It's still. He did an in-store at Ear Ecstasy that was awesome. They had a few in-stores that were amazing. Foo Fighters did an in-store there that was phenomenal. I would, like, probably trying to, there's some that I would just go to because, like, they're just some of my favorite, like Lungfish.
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
You don't have to have all the Lungfish records. Yeah. but if you pick a couple from the beginning and a couple at the end, and you're fine. But they never, his voice and the way he presents himself and he's pulling things from a different dimension, which just is fascinating to me. But yeah, those are going to be my big hitters.
Now, we talked a lot about bands and you guys performing, and recently had someone on the show I feel bad because the episode's not going to come out till right after yours does. But I asked this question. You play with a lot of bands. You've played a lot. Has there ever, and I'll let you know so you don't have to listen to the full episode, but it was Frederick from Star Market.
Okay.
From the Swedish band Star Market. They were deep. Yeah. And I had asked him who the best band he ever got to, play with on a ticket and got to stand back and watch them and say that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And your band came up for his answer.
Oh, wow.
So, and you don't have to return the favor to him, but is there a band that you guys literally they either opened for you or you opened for them and you stood back and watched and were like, that's the band. That was one of the greatest things I got to see.
Oh, man. What Kevin say? I have to say, like, some of the hot water music shows were the closest I've been to feeling like a kid.
All right.
Again, as far as, and we played with Fugazi once, and that was, like such a huge honor. And like, you can't get much better than that, but I was still wrapped up in us playing,
Yeah.
And so, maybe if I would have got to play with Fugazi a couple times, I would have fallen into that kid feeling again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say Hot Water was probably some of those shows where you're just like, yeah, this band is good.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in like, it wasn't like I knew every single song, but the ones I did, like, I was like, it was just hitting me with that right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think they make you feel like you know every song. Like,
oh yeah,
because I mean,
they're fans, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, their fans are just ferocious. And it's kind of like being with a Veil or something like that. I mean, that band, there was multiple times, and I can't thank them enough, where we would be on tour and they would be playing, the huge club. We'd be playing like a small little club, maybe a Sunday matinee or something, and they would be playing some huge thing. And we'd show up and they'd be like, oh yeah, you can play. Just open, you can open up and, you're not going to get paid, but you can, you can play and sell your merch. It's like so many times that they did that.
That's awesome.
That kind of stuff. But those were the bands that, as growing up, that I was, just blown away and still blown away by.
Yeah, I mean, there's still Hot Water, still pumping out music. I'm literally looking directly in front of me next to my mic at all the CDs, and literally eye level is my Hot Water music section. And just by counting from as far away as I am, there's 15 CDs there. Neither of them are doubled up, and I know none of them are prior, post 2007. So like,
right. Yeah. They're still cranking them out.
Yeah, I'm seeing them in 3 weeks. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, it's great that you're able to. Yeah, I guess where you're at, you're just able to get it all.
There's been when they took the cap off in August, I kind of went a little crazy where it was just, all right, shows are back. And, luckily, knock on wood, only a couple had gone away once they opened things back up. But it was like, I just missed this. And my wife knows, like, I'm a live music whore. Like, doesn't matter what it is. I'm there. I'm going. If I have the time, I'm going to go to it. And it was just like, I'm going. And literally I just looked at like my April list and I was like, oh shit, I have a show Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I'm like, shit. All right.
That's
I need
amazing.
to calm down.
That's so good though.
Yeah.
It's, being here, we'll get the, we get the occasional good show, but we're definitely not the A market, you know. It takes a while for bands to show up here.
Makes it worth the wait when they do show up.
It does. Yeah. My last show that I got to see was before COVID was Shellac. It was the night everything shut down. And then the first show I've seen since they opened back up was Frank Turner.
Nice.
Came in town.
Nice.
And that was something I found over COVID through podcasts. I have never, sadly had never heard of him. And then all of a sudden, someone talks about him and you go check it out. And then you're like, oh, there's 6 records here. And then you just really kind of dive in and you get all this stuff at once.
That's awesome that you had that opportunity to find that stuff during a shitty fucking time that we were all forced into. Yeah.
Where it's like the only thing you could do is, put your pods in your ear and take the dog for a walk.
Yeah.
Hopefully not run into anybody. Wonder about the next, corner if you're gonna, it's gonna be some
crossing the street just at the thought of not turning a corner and bumping into somebody.
Exactly. Now we're 2 years into it, and who cares?
Yeah.
My kids got it today. Yeah, well, it'll be fine.
Yeah, well, that is the good part. Anybody gets it now. It's really just, I'm sure.
Hopefully,
it's just
an annoyance.
Yeah, it's just an annoyance and inconvenience for a little while, and we can move on.
Yes. Knock on wood and everything else, and I don't want to be callous about it. People are still hurting and still getting sick.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody to have to deal with that.
No.
But yeah, it's been crazy. But that's why I was like, there's certain things I had not, and I don't want to say I'd given up, because I've have kids and a family and all that, but there's definitely things you took for granted. And it was like, okay, well, during COVID, I was like, okay, I need to get my motorcycles rebuilt. And yeah, Elliott should play a show. So let's do that.
Yeah. I went on the purge when I was like, okay, a lot of this material stuff I have, I don't need, let's get rid of it all.
Wow.
And that was, I started going through tons of stuff, pulled out 14 bins of stuff. And I was just like, gotta go. It's in a bin, in an attic for how long? It's not, a picture of, a family member or something. Gotta go. Get it out of here.
Exactly. Yeah, man, you need to come to my house.
Well, I'm an organizer. So man. My friends hey, listen, my garage is a mess. Can you come over and organize it for me? I'm like, sure.
We make some good money doing that. Yeah, no, mine would be okay, here's my house, and this is how I want you to think my life is. And then you go in my basement. That's okay, this is how my brain is. Down here, it's just a mess.
Yeah.
But it definitely, that's one of the to-do lists is to get a big dumpster and get rid of stuff.
I'd be like someone in that hoarder show though too. I was hold it in my hand. I'm like, no. I need this coffee filter because it was from a show in 1998 that I it's some things I find and I do hold on and I'm just like, what am I doing?
Had the set list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's always just the, just the cliche of as soon as I throw something away, as soon as I get rid of it, it's like, oh, hey, do you have that? Blah, blah, blah. Or you got to go buy the exact same thing brand new.
I've done that before. Literally getting rid of something 2 weeks later. I'm like, shit, I needed that funnel.
Exactly. That's my life. But being, with photography and music, and it's all a very kind of parallel line of, if you get rid of the LPs or you get rid of the film camera, well, it's it all comes back.
Yeah.
To the point where you're like, oh, I mean, I even think CDs are coming back to a degree. Cassettes came back, and it's like
that's why everybody's like, why do you have all this stuff? Why aren't you getting rid of it? I'm like, honestly, I go through some of my records. You go on Discogs for some of the shit that I have from, like, I have, Elliott's U.S. Songs, original press from '98. Right. You see what it goes for on Discogs. Like, I'm like, come on, guys. Right. And they're like, but you're not selling it, so what does it matter how much it costs? I'm like, it's just knowing that I could.
Right. Well, even there's like CDs that are, that are. I had no idea. There's like, I don't know what they call them. Like, are there like red line CDs, or they're? I think I'm getting my Hot Wheels and my CDs mixed up. But there's certain CDs that have a certain type of press that are worth more than other CDs.
Yeah, it's just like records.
So it's bizarre, but yeah, that's cool. And I still have my cassettes from back in the day.
So do I. I'm surrounded by music, so it's just records, CDs, tapes, everything. So
yeah, I have. I've not gotten rid of anything, but I was not a big vinyl guy growing up. I was more just in my car, so CDs or cassettes.
Yeah,
but when my son was born, he's 12 now. He thought music was YouTube. So anything that was music, he'd be like, YouTube. And I was like, this is wrong.
We got to fix this.
We got to fix this. So then I went and got a record player and, and then started buying albums again so that he could, hold something and look at something. Because it was bad. Once I saw the YouTube connection with music, I was like, okay, we gotta change this.
Yeah, my thing is like, what I like to do is, I mean, back when you and I were growing up and you were going to those VFW shows, the only thing you could buy was a 7-inch, just like Falling Forward had a 7-inch, because that was the cheapest thing to make at the time. And that's what I have, like all these 7-inches that I look back and I'm like, I remember the show. I bought it at this show. I got it here. And like, look at this. I still have it.
Yep. Yeah. And it, probably the white cardboard box with all the stickers.
Yeah. Mine's blue. Mine's blue. Okay. Yeah, I got a blue cardboard box.
Right on. But that's that's part of it. It's more than a keepsake. It's it's like a treasure.
Yeah, it's a treasure to me because every time I look at it, music. I'll say it again for the 1 millionth time in the show. Closest thing to reality that we have as a time machine is music, and
absolutely. Yeah, it'll take you straight back to, and that's why, this nostalgia factor. There's bands that I'm like, it could have been my favorite band in the world, and it's like, it's the nostalgia of it's not that they were the best band in the world, but they hit me at that time that I needed it. When you're 14 or 15, and
that's what you guys did for me. I'll say it again.
I appreciate it, and that it's it means the connection was mutual. Because that music takes me back to that same time and that world of that it's completely different than anything I'm involved in.
Well, listen, I've kept you here way too long, so I just got a couple more things to ask. It feels like I'm, just taking advantage of your time because this means so much to me. But with everything that's coming back around and the fact that you've been asked, to play a reunion, I'm sure you had some thoughts and some things to think about the band that you created and the people that are saying such nice things about it. And this probably changes from when it actually happened, but like, what would you want to be remembered most for with the band Elliott? What would you want it to be remembered most for?
Oh, wow.
And I know it's a tough question to think about right now, especially when you are seeing an influx of probably what you meant so much and didn't know what it was. But I mean, to see that, it had to have stroked some things to be like, I didn't know people remembered or cared, but now seeing that, there has to be something, being like, this is what I wanted to be remembered for, and this is what we are.
I think it was I would hope people would take it for it's really hard for me, because as I've gotten older and you lose some of that ego that comes with when you're in your 20 somethings, that some of it's ambition,
when you're handsome front man of an awesome band, that ego.
You think you've either you want people to get the music and to want to be a part of it, and be either want to be like you, or they want to be a part of this thing with you. When you drop that as you get older, for me, it's like, wow, will I be able to, are people looking at it through rose-colored glasses? Are they looking at it through that nostalgia? So hopefully what I can bring back to it is hopefully I can come back to it. But I hope they just are able to feel the same thing they did when they first heard it, and if they've never heard it, I hope I'm able to, give them, what those songs mean to us, which really is just that time frame in our lives. So it's kind of like coming back to it for full circle, hopefully bringing some maturity to it. But we were never like a joke band. We barely spoke when we were on stage. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they just feel it. That's all. Oh. That's a lame way of putting it.
It's very lame, but I'm going to have to, I already marked for edit 3 minutes ago.
Oh, good. So good. Just throw that out, and we'll just check that question. Chuck it out here.
But before we get into our last question, our last segment of Weekly Threes, I again just want to say thank you for all you've done. I'm not the only person out there that appreciates everything you've done in the past and everything you've done in the future, even from Frontiers, your other band, which is fantastic too. People should check out. But the music you've created and given to me to enjoy and listen to, it means a lot to many more people than you think it does. So I just want to thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'm grateful for what you do, and all the people that are doing this kind of thing, and kind of putting a spotlight on some bands that either didn't get exactly where they were shooting for, or they did, and that was exactly what they wanted to do. But if your listeners, they can hear a few bands that I've thrown out, or that have affected me in my life, and then they get turned on to that scene. There was just so much good music that we were a part of.
So much,
that, just some of the festivals that I got to go to before I was even in bands. Whether it be the more the music fests, in like Columbus, and some of that stuff is just priceless, for me.
I'll never forget. Hopefully, I try not to forget every show I was ever at, because it means so much.
Yeah.
That's why now that I'm older, I write down every single artist that I've seen for like the past, like it started 2 years before COVID hit. I had a tragedy in my life, and I said, I'm not taking anything for granted, and I'm going to map it out and put it all together. And just every band that I saw, I'm making a list, and I keep that list. Every time I go to a show, the artist walks off stage, and in between sets, I write it in my notes, and I'm ready. I'm like, not losing this.
Wow, you are organizer.
Yeah.
You're keeping it tight.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I love when I wish I would have done things like that, or kept a list of all the shows we played. I know there are bands that do that, and it's amazing when they can go back and say, oh yeah, we played this, this spot, this club, in this city. It's awesome when you.
Well, again, thank you so much. And we're into our last segment, which is our weekly threes, where people can hear what the last three things that you've listened to that you'd like people to check out. Doesn't matter. It could be new. It could be old. Anything.
Oh, man. The weekly three. All right. Well, then I've got to throw out, trying to look at my playlist here. Is that cheating?
No, because I usually, if someone has listened to the show before, I can tell right away because their threes come out real fast. And the ones I'm like, go to your Spotify playlist or whatever playlist you put together and go there. It's fine.
Right. Well, I have to throw out, and then now I want to know what Kevin did. I'll have to throw out Idols, the new album Crawler. I love it. The new Drug Church.
Good album.
It's coming out.
Yeah.
That Hygiene. I can't wait for that. I don't think the full is it. No, it's not out yet.
No.
But we've heard a few songs from that. And those are bands that, again, podcasts turn me on to. The new or the new-ish Jose Gonzalez.
Love Jose.
Man, I've never had an artist that writes new music that feels like I've already known it. Like it's always just feels perfect. And we had a chance we got to play, or no, he was in another band and that played with ELLIOTT over in Europe. And I had no idea who, then I became a fan of his. And then somebody was like, you've been on tour with him. I was like, no, I didn't. I don't know that guy. Because he spoke very little English at that point. And he was in a band called Only If You Call Me Jonathan, I believe is the name of the band. But they were from Sweden, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, so, and then I, got turned on to him listening to BBC or whatever, but just like phenomenal.
Well, that's awesome. Good three. You'll just have to tune in to part one to hear what Kevin said for his three. So,
I'll have to listen. I'm sure his either be really eclectic or is it new stuff or old stuff?
Old stuff.
Old stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He listens to all the classics.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome.
So my three for this week, okay. I didn't do it on Kevin's portion because I'm doing it to end the show. First one is a band called Beach Death. Their self-titled album is Beach Death. Very indie rock out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Really recommend them to people to check out if you like that lo-fi indie stuff that you got back in the 90s. Beach Death is the name of the band.
Very cool.
My next word is a band called Downward. They're like alt rock, space rock out of Oklahoma. Really cool. And last but not least, a band called Rationale. And if you're going to look it up, people, it has a period after the E. So it's RATIONALE period. It's Dan from Real Friends and Joe from Knuckle Puck. And what I was listening to, I think it was a new single, If the Problems Persist. Those are my three for this week. But
I'll have to go back and listen to all your episodes and get your three from every episode.
You're on there. I can actually probably tell you what episode you were on my weekly threes. Hold on, let me check.
You don't. That's not. I just want new.
Listen,
music,
I'm organized.
I know all my music.
I'm organized, so I have it written down.
That's funny.
Where were you? Wow. And now I'm going back and like being like, holy shit, I can't believe all these bands that I've listened to. And
that your top threes. And,
yeah.
So yeah. And I probably went to like the most like, the stuff that's easily heard.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to find the stuff. Yeah. I scan to help people find the stuff that awesome. They should be listening to.
And help the band.
Yeah.
That you're finding. That's amazing.
That's what I want to do. I'm going to email you because this list is really long. But cool. You're definitely on here. I know for a fact. Awesome. You might be on more than once. So with all our episodes, but this, Chris, again, this has been an absolute pleasure and honor for me to have you on this show. I hate the fact that I have to have you on a show called Hidden Tracks.
Hey,
but
I'm glad I'm here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But everybody, this has been Chris from the amazing band ELLIOTT, and you know what you got to do next. You go out, listen to ELLIOTT, and have a great fucking time.
Drowning out
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.